Hello, and welcome to another episode of tasting and talking and chatting and learning more about wine and everything about it with Wine Access. I'm your host, Eduardo Dingler, and we are waiting for our guest, which is right here and about to join, Jason Lede from Cliff Lede Wines. And we're super thrilled. We hope you have something amazing in your glass and hydrating. Cheers to you. Today on Cinco de Mayo, which is an amazing holiday to celebrate, and drink whatever you like to drink, especially. So here, Jason joining us just about now. Jason, are you there? Let's refill a little bit while we wait. We are just about trying again real quick with Jason and Cliff Lede Vineyards, a wine that I've been a fan for years. I want to say, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And I've always really enjoyed their diversity. And today we'll talk about a little bit of that California landscape that they offer, the different vineyards, the different brands that they work with and that they bring to our table on a daily basis. So let's see if this time Jason is here. There he is. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Nice background. I love the outdoors and this beautiful weather in Cinco de Mayo.
Out on the veranda. We don't know. Wi-Fi. Hey, we're gonna try it.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. Super excited to talk and share this amazing wines. And right now I'm drinking this outstanding Avignon Blanc, if everybody can see.
Nice.
Which has been one of my favorites. Here. And yes, sir, just in time to celebrate Sauvignon Blanc Day a couple days ago, May 1st.
That's right. There's always a National Wine Day. That's the nice thing about drinking wine, right? There's always some day to celebrate.
Totally. And definitely margaritas are hopefully in the horizon. But today we're focusing on your outstanding brands. And I want to learn, and everybody in the audience, learn a little more about you and the brand and everything that you guys encompass.
Sure.
There's something that most people or some people don't know about you, but you're an amazing DJ. And I've seen you a couple times.
I'm a DJ. I don't know about amazing, but
I'd say you rock the floor every time.
For Napa Valley, maybe. From Napa Valley, maybe I'm pretty amazing. We'll see.
From Napa Valley to the world. I know you did a recent fundraiser for your birthday, and it was pretty successful. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about
thank you for helping us kick that fundraiser off. Actually, I know you were my first donor. But yeah, that whole thing, I mean, my family, we love wine, we love music. My dad being a huge classic rock fan, that kind of is in the blood of everything we do here at Cliff Lede Vineyards. For me, I'm a DJ. I've done that since I was 12, 13 years old. And when I came out to Napa, I saw there was this need for DJs to come and do parties. And I figured what a great way to spend time doing one of my hobbies and raising money for charity. So anytime I do a gig, I just basically say, hey, no fee, just make a donation to a charitable cause and we'll get others to join in on it and we'll go from there. The birthday one was the best one I've done yet. So thanks to you and all the supporters, we raised $2,000 and then my family matched that. So it was over $4,000 raised just over that week that we did the fundraiser. So we sent all that money to the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. So restaurant workers around the U.S. are really struggling right now. So we wanted to do what we could to help them out. And we'll be doing some more charitable initiatives from the winery side of things, not the personal side, very soon. So
yeah. There's another one I went to, actually. One of the first ones I saw you DJ live was at the Alzheimer's Foundation with Karen Less.
Yeah, fantastic. I do events whenever I can. They're fun, and the nice thing is word's getting around a little bit that I throw a pretty good party, and so hey, you know, it's good. It's for a good cause, and I love doing it. So
Awesome. Tell us a little
yeah.
bit about how you got into wine. Obviously, I mean, I've known your dad for 15 or so years, and I've been a huge
Mhm.
fan. But how was it growing up for you, and how did you find your calling into wine?
Sure. So the story I love to tell is you know, my dad was a Bordeaux collector, and that definitely inspires all the wines we make at Cliff Lede, from the Sauv Blanc all the way through to our Cabernets, all Bordeaux style blends. But huge Bordeaux guy, and he introduced me to wine since I can remember. He would bring a taste of wine into me and let me taste things from time to time. And I never liked wine. I thought it was gross because, I mean, all of these really, you know, well-aged Bordeaux's, he likes old school Bordeaux. He likes wines that are fairly austere, and I love them now. Don't get me wrong. But when you're a new wine drinker and you got like an untrained palate, it goes over your head. So I never really liked wine until he started making wine down here in California. And I never forget, he came in one day and offered me a taste of wine. And it was the first time I ever tasted California Cabernet. And for anybody out there who drinks California Cabernet, especially when it's young, you know that it's fruit forward and it's very
Oh yeah.
powerful and concentrated. And to me, I think I was maybe 16 at that time, it was just mind blowing, mind blowing.
Absolutely.
So that was right around the time he bought the property. That was back in 2002. And I sort of just, well, I guess the next step for me was coming down and visiting. And being growing up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, you think of California, you think of beaches, you think of all the activities that, you know, go down on beaches. And that was the draw for me. I want to go to California and hang out and you know, see what the life is like down there. I came down to Napa and saw that it was not that. It was not Laguna Beach. It's a farming community and totally different. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the interplay of fine dining and you know, just the artisanship that goes behind making, you know, everything here, from the food to the wine. Everything here is just done in that way. So that's what really drew me in. And then it was just years and years of working in the cellar and the vineyards and learning more and more about wine, and just falling in love with it through just learning practical, hands-on. Got into sales and marketing thereafter, and that's more or less what I do now. I've been with the winery full time for about 5 years, but
Wow.
yeah, in the wine business, I guess since 2005, 6, 7, kind of around
Wow.
there. So lots of
Wow.
experience here in Napa, a little bit of experience in Australia as well, and then
Where were
yeah,
you in Australia?
I worked for Molly Duker Wines
Oh,
back in
fantastic.
2010.
Who
I did
doesn't know
harvest
Molly
there.
Baker? Wow.
Had a great time. Love that team out there. You know, I was 23 or 24 at that time and just wanted to have a totally different experience. And that's what it was. They make wine very much in a very different style than us, and in a very different approach in the winery and in the vineyard. And seeing that perspective versus ours was just very useful to me in expanding my wine knowledge.
That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about what we have on our glasses. I know
Yeah.
we're sharing the same stuff right now,
Yep.
although
So
from
we can start
far.
with the
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, both these white wines. You can start with either, really. There's enough freshness and acidity in both of those to kind of go back and forth. But starting with the Sauvignon Blanc, that's what I got. I think that's what you have right now. This wine fully embodies what Cliff Lede Vineyards is all about. It's all the white Bordeaux varietals coming together in a very innovative way. So you have predominantly Sauvignon Blanc. I think we're in that 85, 86% range year to year. It'll change a little bit. Good chunk of Semillon, about 10%, maybe 12, 13 in some years. And then just a tiny little bit of Sauvignon Vert, AKA Muscadel.
Huh.
And so
Where are you
all three of
sourcing that one?
So the Muscadel, that all comes from Childs Valley,
Okay.
from the Nicolini family. They grow a little bit of up there. And I believe it was our winemaker, Chris Tynan, that discovered this property and knew that it would be a fun thing to include in the blend and just kind of boost those aromatics a little bit. So it's just a fun, small percentage, but in wine, a small percentage can go a long way.
Carry a lot.
So the three white Bordeaux varietals plus 3 different fermentation techniques. So it's kind of the way I look at, old world meets new world. We do stainless steel fermentation. That's roughly maybe 40%. And then a good 55% or so will go into neutral oak barrels. We use used Burgundy barrels, and we also have the elongated style, the
cigar shape.
Dagenot made famous. Yep, exactly.
Nice.
The cigar shape. We
That
have a
explains a
fairly
lot.
large collection of those. And then the last 5 or so percent will go into concrete egg shaped fermenters. So lots of texture here, lots of weight. You definitely pick that up in the glass. It sits, more heavily bodied on the palate than most Sauvignon Blancs would. That is going to come from, the concrete egg use, The neutral oak for sure. We're stirring those barrels weekly to really incorporate as much of that lees as really possible. And then the stainless steel, you know, retaining the acidity and the freshness and just really that punchiness that everybody looks for in Sauvignon Blanc.
No, it is a wine of consequence. It has a lot of development. It really brings a big party to it. It's not just your focused linear style of Sauvignon Blanc, which is outstanding. But this is really definitely has all the. It went to the gym for a while. It's like robust and beautiful. And well, tell us a little bit about the team while we're here. Sure. I know Chris, Remy. I mean, you have an incredible team behind you.
We're fortunate that, you know, we've been able to attract some of the best talents in Napa Valley with Chris Tynan making the wine since 2012. Chris before that was spending most of his time at Colgan. I think he had 6 years there as the assistant winemaker, and it's the connection through David Abreu that kind of got us to Chris and Remy as well. So two of, I guess, many of our key figures over time have kind of come through Abreu's recommendation. He helped my dad design our property and replant, and a lot of David Abreu's, I guess you could say, his fingerprints are on our vineyard, being that he's the architect for most of what we've done. But by way of him, that's how we found out about Remy and Chris. And so finding them at different points in their career, Remy was just kind of starting her own consultation business, and we brought her on to be our viticulturalist and kind of run our vineyard program after we shifted away from David. And she did such an amazing job. We brought her on, and within, I mean, a couple of years, she was our general manager. Now she's our chief operating officer and really just runs everything on the Cliff Lede side, from sales and marketing, direct to consumer, vineyards, winemaking. I mean, she sits at the blending table and helps make these wines. She's also working with, very closely with the Fell Wine Project as well, with Ryan Hodgins over there. So very involved. And then Chris is just one of those guys that, you know, I always use the sports analogy with him. It's like when you have a really good coach, an amazing team, and they come together, and then you have, you know, championship potential. That's how I feel it is with the amazing vineyard we have, and Chris being just that one that just understands the vineyard. There's that X factor there that helps us create these incredible wines. You just, you know, attention to detail, cleanliness. It really comes through in the wines. The wines are very pure and very, they have a lot of sense of place. That's truly part of his philosophy, is being true to source and not letting really anything get in the way. And fun fact about the Sauvignon Blanc, this was the first white wine he ever made. So the 2012, not the 18, but the 12.
The 12.
That was the first vintage he ever tried his hand at white wine. Wow. And so I believe it was quite a team effort between Remy, Chris, our assistant winemaker, Travis, who has been with us for, I think, over 10 years now. They all came together, and they're the ones who really reimagined what this could be. They're the ones who pushed, let's do a little bit more Semillon. Maybe let's play around with a little bit more neutral oak and see if we can sort of reimagine what Sauvignon Blanc can be. And so kudos to them for now, you know, with 2018.
Yeah, big cheers to them. I mean,
exactly.
This is something that if I had a keg of it, I would just tap it in the house, and that would be all I've been drinking for a while. Definitely. And I'd say, so give us a quick, just big picture of Cliff Lede and the brands that you guys have under the umbrella.
So we have Lede Family Wines, which encompasses two of our main brands here in Northern California, with Cliff Lede Vineyards in Stag's Leap District of Napa Valley. That's where I am today. That's where we have our hospitality center. That's where most people get introduced to our brands. They come and visit us here, and Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc really drive what we do at this property. Again, Dad was a big Bordeaux collector. Now, Fell Wines, which is another brand under Lede Family Wines. This is our Anderson Valley project, named after my grandmother. So it's, so FEL, we might as well move into the Chardonnay. So it's going to look backwards for everybody there for some reason, but, you know, things are kind of backwards nowadays. So that's the theme we're going with. Indeed. But FEL, so Florence Elsie Lede, my grandmother's initials. She was the one that inspired my dad to get into wine. So she was a home winemaker. So again, back in Alberta, Canada, she was making wine in her cellar, in her basement, really, not using Cabernet Sauvignon or Pinot Noir. She was using like raspberries and blackberries and strawberries and things like that. So my dad thought that was cool. He thought that, you know, this is a fun way to spend time on the weekend and a cool hobby. And then he eventually got into collecting wine. I mean, after he had his first taste of Bordeaux, the light bulb went off and that was it. But this is our tribute to her. So Fell is Anderson Valley. We own the Savoy Vineyard up there. We acquired that vineyard in 2011. And so all of our Fell wines, or I guess the base wines, are all sort of coming off of that property. We work with some other single vineyards as well in different capacities, but really Savoy is the heart and soul of what we do.
Which is an icon. I mean, in the California history and standard for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, right?
Absolutely. Planted by Richard Savoy in the early 90s. Total experimental vineyard. He worked with Ted Lemon of Lede to plant the site out. And so you have different clones and different blocks, and it's just a real patchwork.
Super geeky.
Yeah, but that diversity, that's what makes that vineyard special. It's not just like, well, it's 100% Pommard clone and it's all this and it's one thing. It's like, no, it's like, oh, there's all these different nooks and crannies, and all the producers that work with Savoy get different parts of the vineyard. So you really get a sense of the vineyard instead of just one specific pocket of the site. So we sell fruit to about 6 other wineries, including, I mentioned Ted Lemon, so Literai, Fela, Redi Couteau, Pay, just some of the best in the business working with the site. So yeah, it's a great property to have as your anchor.
Absolutely.
It's a good section of this Chardonnay is from the Savoy vineyard, and then the other section the other portion of this wine coming from Farrington, which is another one of the more well-known Anderson Valley properties.
Totally.
So, working with multiple properties up in the Anderson Valley, that's what Fella's all about. And then we have the Poetry Inn, which is our 5-bedroom bed and breakfast just up the hill from me here in the Stags Leap District. That also kind of falls under Lady Family Wine. And then we have a joint partnership in the Priorat with Mazdeutsch Winery.
That is super exciting. I really want to learn more about that and or audience to learn a little more about that too as well.
That might be more, for another episode one day. We could taste those wines and really get into them. But just basically, our philosophy with wine, their philosophy with wine completely meshed. And my dad was looking to, go a little bit international, see what was out there. And these guys were looking for an investment to help build their winery, which is now complete. I encourage everybody to look up Mazdeutsch. That's Masdoix. Check them out. They got great social media presence, and they're just starting to show off their new winery, which is absolutely beautiful. So, Grenache-based wines, we're talking 100-year-old wines.
We could go on and on and winemaking as well, right? I mean,
I'm going to have to go open one of those bottles.
Yes, totally. So I'm sure your dad and the team looked at other places of the world and ended up pinning in Spain after some research. How was that? Were you part of that?
So he was looking internationally to see if there are things out there. Hey, if there was a time to make an investment in Italy, maybe now's the time, or who knows, maybe somewhere in France. So he was kind of looking around, and Spain wasn't the first thought, but after, by way of actually Remy, who introduced my dad to the guys over at Mazdeutsch, they just hit it off. Like I said, their philosophies aligned, their business ethic, just really everything, the focus around family, there's everything aligned. And, it was an investment that I guess we were ready to make. And it's still something that is very new for us.
If I interrupt you, as I said, I've known your dad for over a decade, and he's the kind of guy that I'd hang out with anytime. I've hung out with him briefly a couple of times at Bottle Rock and shows and stuff, and he's a cool dude. He's a very cool dude. So I could see
he's a very fun guy,
totally.
And he likes to keep things interesting. He likes to challenge his team, and that was another part of this. Is like, hey guys, let's see if we can pull something like this off. Let's see if we can do it. And having a bit of a foothold in Europe is a cool starting point, I think, for Lady Family Wines into the future. We're I'm talking very, very long term, but this is kind of one of the first things that I don't know, it starts another exciting future. But back to Fel, I just want to mention with the Chardonnay, because I'm sure there's people out there that are interested in it, or maybe they've tried it before. The thing about our white wines is they're very unique. The Sauv Blanc being the richer style, the more
and I do gotta say, the Sauv Blanc, we are offering it actually tomorrow in Wine Access, and today we have like a special preview to it, being one of my favorite Sauv Blancs out there, and being right on the month of Sauvignon Blanc Day and all that. So anybody out there interested, get your hands on some. Absolutely.
It's Sauvignon Blanc season, so tomorrow, good time to pick it up from Wine Access. But yeah, richer, still has nice acidity, but the Chardonnay is where that really comes to the forefront. I mean, this wine just has beautiful acidity. It's just got this, mouth-watering characteristic. We decided to go more on the, clean, fresh, crisp style, which really embodies the Anderson Valley. Being a cooler climate, being closer to the ocean, having all that freshness and energy was something we wanted to highlight. So there's no malolactic fermentation here, and there's no new oak being used here at all. So it's oak fermented, but these are barrels that have been used 10, 15 vintages at this point. So that's one of the key things here. Whole cluster pressed, no stirring of the lees, as everything kind of rests, and then we keep it cool in the cellar to limit the malolactic, and it just retains that beautiful Granny Smith apple freshness. It's
Oh,
got a little bit of
it's
texture.
perfect for any time. And as I've always said, everybody's is a Chardonnay drinker. It just depends on what style you like. You can be a closet Chardonnay drinker. Not Ty. Ty knows. We all know Ty loves Chardonnay, but he's joined us. But
Yeah, nice.
Everybody enjoys it, and this is a style that you want to drink every day. It's not one you have to reserve for one of the week or certain dishes.
Right.
It really bright and elevated. Pretty fun. And tell us. So we talked about Chris. We talked about Remy. Tell us a little bit about Ryan and how you came across with him.
So Ryan's a cool cat. He's been in the Anderson Valley making wine since 2005. And I believe the first winery that he started with there was Brego Cellars. So for anybody out there who remembers Brego, small upstart winery, again, started in 05. Cool thing about Brego is they got their kind of first crack at working with Savoy Vineyard. And so Ryan's been working with Savoy since 2005. So, I mean, this is a guy that now, has complete control over the vineyard, but also exactly has been making it for, 15 vintages now. So it's pretty incredible to have that knowledge with a vineyard. Now, that is exactly how we met him. So if we go back further in the story, that's how we got in the Anderson Valley. We ended up investing in Brego, and Ryan brought him on full time, as he was the assistant at that time, or I guess he was the more consultant winemaker at that time, but we brought him on full time. We acquired that winery in 2009, and then changed the name to Fell with the 2012 releases. So there's a lot going on there, but that's how Ryan came into the fold. He's a Pacific Northwest guy. He grew up around, really fresh wines, and he's even made wine in India. So, lots of very interesting guy.
Yeah.
But absolutely just loves his craft and is all about, similar to what we try to do with Cliff Lede, is be very specific to the place where these grapes are grown and really speak of place. And that's what we aim for in these wines. So just purity, freshness, staying true to Anderson Valley. We're not, even this is maybe a Chablis style or Méconnaise style like that. We're not trying to replicate that. We're just trying to bring that to the new world and showcase this varietal in a different light. So,
how many different wines do you make under the Fell label?
So there's 8 or 9. I mean, so for single vineyard Pinot Noirs, we have the Savoy, we have Donnelly Creek, Wendling. We also work with, I mentioned the Farrington Vineyard. We do a Savoy Chardonnay, which is kind of the partner to this wine. It's a little bit more elevated. It's a bit more of we do a barrel selection of the more concentrated fruit, and we allow a little bit of that to go through malolactic. So it has a bit more of that Burgundian feel to it in the Anderson Valley. We also do the Pinot Gris, which people love. That's kind of the under the radar pick. It's like $25 a bottle, and it's just like California Pinot Gris, really, but it's spectacular. Alsatian style. Again, lots of acidity. I think that's one of the things that unifies the Fell wines is the freshness that balances off the power. Anderson Valley is a cool climate, but there's still some warm days there, so you're gonna get ripeness.
Totally.
But it's balanced. It's balanced in a way that you still have that mouthwatering acidity. So
we have a quick question, Jason.
Why
does every wine from Savoy, regardless of producer, age so well?
Because it's an amazing vineyard, right? Like wine is all made out in the vineyard. So when you have an incredible site, that's truly what's going to come, in the end. The other thing is the producers that work with the Savoy Vineyard. These are all, world class. They're much more well known and popular than we are, for a reason. I mean, these are guys that have been making Pinot Noir for a long time, and it's truly like what they're dedicated to. So that's my guess. I mean, I think the other thing with Savoy is that it sits about midway in the Anderson Valley. So you're not so far north to where, it's very, very cool climate and much, maybe more difficult with Pinot Noir, maybe a little bit more finicky. And it's not like the warm southern end either, where you're going to get more of that, California Pinot, more of that like richness and boldness. It kind of sits right in the middle. I always call it like the Goldilocks Vineyard, because it's not too hot, not too cold, right? It's kind of just right. It's where we see the largest diurnal range throughout the day. So warm days, cool nights, warm days, cool nights. And so we get wines that have structure and tannin and acidity as well. So I know I harp on that interplay of those two things, and I've been saying that a lot.
It's very true. I mean, everybody that knows
key.
about wine, it's definitely a big, big key. If we may switch gears, let's go back to Napa and Chris's winemaking and all that fun stuff. And
cool. Let's do it.
The high fidelity, if you want.
So high fidelity, figured we had to do at least one Cliff Lede red. And if I had to choose one right now, this is the one I'm going to choose. If anybody has tuned into any of our live webinars or any of the social media stuff we're putting out right now, it's pretty clear that this is my favorite wine to drink from Cliff Lede Vineyards right now. High fidelity. So all the wines we make at Cliff Lede Vineyards, again, Bordeaux-inspired style, working with all the Bordeaux varietals. And largely on the red side, it is Cabernet Sauvignon. Our property here in Stags Leap District, we have 60 acres. It's predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon. There's at least probably 80% of the vineyard planted to Cabernet. But the unique thing about our property in Stags Leap is we have 20 acres on the hillside, and that kind of flows down towards the Napa River. And it's kind of this long strip of land. And what we get is different soil types from one end to the other.
Awesome.
So Cabernet does really well almost anywhere, except on the very western side of the property, where there's a lot of clay-like soil, a lot of really heavy water-retaining soil. And so Merlot just thrives. So we have this great section of Merlot. We have a little bit Malbec down there as well. We have Cabernet Franc nested in some north-facing ridges, also on the valley floor, and a little bit on the hillside, which we call the Poetry Vineyard. But what I'm getting to is most of the wines we make are Cabernet Sauvignon based. However, we make one wine that is not high fidelity. High fidelity is our tribute to the right bank of Bordeaux. So we're talking more Cabernet Franc here, Merlot. The blend,
I see that.
Yeah, the blend changes a little bit every year. This year was at like 50+% Cabernet Franc, and then about 30+% Merlot, and then a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Verdot to round it out. And you just get like all those beautiful, like fresh characteristics from the Franc. You get the nice like fleshiness from the Merlot, and it just makes for a really like pleasurable wine to drink right now. It certainly has
it's
like
got a lot of
power.
florals, a lot of like really enticing. It just draws you into the glass. There's like violets and violet marmalade, if there's such a thing. Beautiful things like that. Like make your mouth water. It's delicious.
Absolutely. I mean, lots of ripe red fruit. I mean, this is a wine that we love to pour in our tasting room because so many people, you know, they think Cabernet Sauvignon, you're in Napa, that's what you got to drink. But then we say, well, hang on. You know, we do grow a lot of other varietals here in Napa Valley. And even on our property, we grow great Merlot, great Cabernet Franc. I should also point out that a little bit of the fruit for this wine comes from David Abreu's properties because we do get access to a couple of those. And so that's why this is in a Stags Leap District appellated wine, because we blend in some fruit from his properties as well, which really just round out a few of the other characteristics that we're experiencing here. But that's one of the fun wines we pour in the tasting room. Because it just blows people's minds that Cabernet Franc and Merlot can have so much structure and weight and texture and, you know, even just grip and ageability.
I would say, I mean, this one, I tend to kind of put people and persons into the wine. What it reminds me of, this is my Sophia Loren. This is like thick in all the right places, but beautiful, well-shaped smile, and just very beautiful, pleasant, aromatic. It's just beautiful wine. I love it.
It's nice. The 2016 as well. The vintage is just really starting to I don't know, to just be approachable and come to light. You know, we definitely don't craft our red wines to be, you know, right out of the gate super pleasurable. We make a claret, which is a field blend that's maybe a little bit more that style, but really, I mean, again, going back to my dad's love for Bordeaux and for the ageability of wines. I mean, that's what's driving what we do. We you know, luckily we're in Napa Valley where the terroir tends to give us wines that are really accessible compared to the wines of Bordeaux. However, you know, drinking these wines in 10, 15 years from now, especially this 2016, it's just going to be super pleasurable.
This is incredible. I mean, it's 16, it's 4 years old. It's barely a baby. This is something that if I had it in 10 years, I'm going to be like, wow. And in 20 years, it's going to be even better. It's incredible. Now the name, and something I wanted to touch on, and I love about the whole winery and the realm is the music attachment to it. So your dad loves classical music, as you allured a little bit on the beginning.
Classic rock.
Classic
Not
rock.
Classical.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Classic rock.
So
tell me about it, because I love that shirt that I got that you sent me over with the Rolling Stones cover, kind of like alluding to that. So tell us a little more, because I know the vineyards have different plots with names and
so early on in the development of our property, again, my dad was working with David Abreu, and they were looking at all the blocks on the property, And of course, if you've ever looked at a vineyard map, you've seen block A1, A2, A3, A4. It's an alphanumeric system that's, you know, kind of boring and for some people hard to sort of follow. So that was my dad. He was like, you know what, this is just, I don't know where block B6 is. And you know, I gotta name it. I just put my heart and soul into this. I gotta name it something that I'm gonna remember. So he decided to name all the blocks after rock and roll songs. Now, what he decided to do is he polled the team at that time and he said, hey, I want to name the blocks. Give me your top 10 songs from your top 10 bands, or, you know, just give me a top 10 list and I'll choose from those what's going to be named. So we have, I think it's over 40 blocks at this point in time. Wow. And all of them have a name attached to them that is a classic rock song. Some are also albums. So we have a Dark Side of the Moon. So again, being the album, but we have Dark Side of the Moon.
Stairway to Heaven.
We have Stairway to Heaven. We have Hey Jude. My favorite, the block that I got to name, was Intergalactic from the Beastie Boys.
Yes.
So I said, Dad, hey, the Beastie Boys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's got to count. That's got to count. We got to make that work. So yeah, cool. all the blocks named after rock and roll songs. You can see a bit of that when you come visit us. Obviously, we play the music here at the winery.
I was gonna say, yeah. Every time I've been to the tasting room, the music's playing. It brings you home. It's amazing.
It really, you know, it all started, he wanted to, again, name the blocks, but he also, when he opened up the hospitality center in 2004, he wanted people to have fun. He wanted them to feel relaxed, and he was done with the stuffy tasting rooms. He was kind of like, that doesn't need to be my place. I want this to be more like you're coming over for dinner and we're hanging out and we're tasting some good wine, and this is the music I play at home, so this is the music we're going to play here. And it was kind of a new idea at the time. And it's just really become part of our ethos, from, you know, visiting us to we make a special bottling of a dual vineyard blend that we name after the blocks. So that's another fun wine, the Rock Block series. And then we have the Backstage Tasting Lounge, which we feature artwork from artists that are always connected to the rock and roll world. So for example, right now we have artwork from Jerry Garcia, of Grateful Dead. We have Grace Slick as well from Jefferson Airplane, and then there's a little bit of Bernie Taupin's artwork in there as well. So, you know, if you saw Rocket Man, and if you know the story of Elton John, you definitely know the name Bernie Taupin, and he does some really cool artwork. So we hope to reopen soon so that we can have people back and
I
see
know.
some of the
I
great
can't wait to go
have.
visit again, send some people, but something that's always really tied up to your wines and everything about the winery is the music. And that would explain why I see your dad at the concerts, and I end up being lucky to hang out with them. And there's always some musical like tying together, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
He loves music.
I mean, the
he loves
team
music,
is incredible. It's like you have the ultimate band put together, as far as if your wine team and Remy and even Sarah Gore and everybody and yourself being all together.
Shout out to Sarah.
Absolutely. And it'd be the ultimate band. And that's something I'd go see tour. So it's pretty amazing.
That's a good way to put it. You know, come see us live.
Exactly. Man, I want to thank you so much for making this time and sharing your wines. I
appreciate it.
I can't pick a favorite. As I said, if I had a keg of the Cliff Lady, I would drink it every day at home and keep refilling it. But this High Fidelity is amazing, and all your cabs, all your wines are pretty outstanding. So cheers to you guys. Cheers to your team. And
thank you.
I can't wait to see your next DJ set and put money on whatever it is. You always have great fundraisers going. So cheers, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eduardo. I appreciate it. Cheers to you guys.
See you soon. Cheers.